Hey, it's your boy Dustin from the Flying Chairs, the Rise podcast, and today, oh shit, you won't believe it. I got my boy Mikey here with me, and this guy is the shit. And me and him actually done a few things together when we have our local ghost and UFO Bigfoot get-togethers with other local enthusiasts. And yeah, Mikey, it's been a while since I've seen you last. We had a little get together at this weird bowling alley with a bunch of other crazy shit going on in it. Looks like an acid trip, doesn't it? There's like
Yeah,
plants coming out, like human eating plants and dinosaurs and
it's definitely a different kind of place, but it's a perfect place to meet other weird people. And it's
yes,
always good to connect with um, other weirdos based in Madison, Wisconsin. So, Dustin, I hope you're doing well. And
yes.
it's good to see you. And it's good to see that Flying Chariots you've been really after it. You've been posting episodes. You've been going there. You've been meeting people, doing interviews. And it looks like you're having a great time. So happy
I
to join
am.
you
I'm
and
having
talk
a
about it.
blast, man. It's
Good.
yeah, it's just the fact that it's a dream come true talking to some of these people that I've idolized throughout the years that I got to speak to throughout this podcast of and again, it was a friend of mine that kind of like gave me the nudge because I never thought I would be doing this. This is a just it replaced the music that was missing in my life.
Sure.
Because that band life and the music life I absolutely loved, and I thought for sure we were going to reach the stars with it. But it's very, very hard, and for being in a band how there's ups and downs and
Yeah, I've been
whatnot.
no,
And
I've been playing in a band for more than half my life, and
isn't
and
that
it's a
cool?
lot of fun. And
It is fun.
the path to find satisfaction um, is circuitous.
Hmm.
It never it's never what you expect it's going to be,
Yeah,
and that's part of what makes it interesting. Because if it was easy, number one, everybody would do it,
yeah,
right?
that's true.
Um, but number two, it wouldn't have that sense of surprise. And sometimes I link it back to when you listen to the radio. You didn't know what song the DJ was going to play next. And sometimes you would hear a song and you felt like that song was meant for me at this exact time. It's a song that I needed to hear right now.
Hmm.
Um, and I find that in the artistic space and the creative space, and when you're working on stuff, you have a lot of those moments where you're going towards something and you're working on it, you're working really hard, and then all of a sudden, the thing that you need to happen right then happens.
Yep.
And so if it was just going to happen in the way that we expected it to, or always hoped it would, or you know, if it was going to be easy, you wouldn't have those moments. And I think that those moments are what make it really special.
True. Especially working with a band. I think you have to find the right minds to actually like can handle each other in stressful moments. Because at the end of my band, we were just clunking heads on ideas,
Oh, sure.
and there's just the drug use and the alcoholism, and people, my band members just wanted to get trashed during band practice. I was just like, Jesus Christ, and they were late to shows, so half of us would be there, and the other half would just be like doing whatever the fuck. So yeah, it's just
Right.
like, like, come on, we're getting paid to do these gigs.
Right. And that really, I mean, the creative space is full of creative people, and sometimes personalities clash and sometimes issues happen. Um, I think about, I mean, I've been playing with my band's called Sunspot. We're
Cool.
from Madison, but we've played through most of the continental United States, at least. Um,
That's so awesome.
a couple thousand shows over the years and had a lot of fun and released 9 albums. We're about to put out a couple new songs for this summer. Um, but, you know, it's been the same group of people since
Mhm.
1996.
Wow.
And to
Good for
do,
you guys.
yeah, well,
Hell
I
yeah.
mean, and of course, sometimes we want to strangle each other. We just played on Saturday night.
Well, I know, right?
Things. But, um, you find the right mesh of personalities where we can find a way to work together and you can all enrich each other creatively, I think is a good way
Sure.
to put it. When you play with other people and like that other person makes me want to play better, or that other person contributes something that I couldn't just do on my own.
Sure.
That's where it gets, that's where the magic happens of a group playing together, and that electricity and the energy. And, I think when we talk about the paranormal, music is a really great way to think about it,
Mhm.
because in music, it it's more than the sum of its parts.
Yeah.
You get a bunch of people playing together, and all of a sudden, and then that's one thing. The music that's being created on the stage, it could be in the basement, at a party. It could
Yeah.
be at a big stage at an amphitheater. But you have the music being on the stage, and that's an energy in its own right, right?
Yes. Yep.
And then the one player is amazing, but the one player backed by maybe the keyboard, the guitar, or the drums at the right groove and the right notes, all of a sudden putting it together, it all meshes into the air. And so all the music it all meshes into the air and then into your ears,
Into yours.
into the
Yep.
crowd. And
Yep.
so this sonic creation is coming and it's floating over and then it floats to the crowd. And then so you have what's being made on stage. And what's being made on stage is one thing. And then the crowd's reaction and energy is another thing. And so you take all the parts together and all of a sudden they're bigger than they would be all alone. And that's an amazing electric feeling. And I think he gets into the core of what we think of today as the paranormal because it's some kind of non-physical communication with each other. And we talk
Yes.
about ghosts, we talk about telepathic communication, you talk about, psi, ESP, all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
There's something happening that can't be explained by regular physics.
Yes.
So the energy of the room when 100 people are jumping up and down to a song with the band, the energy of a room of a movie, everybody together, the laughter, the feeling, you're like, yeah, I could watch this at home and the joke is the same joke, but it's not as funny as when I'm sitting next to 75 people who are laughing at the same time.
Yes. I totally agree. That feel of it,
Right.
it
So
makes
what's
me like even want to laugh harder because there's other people.
right,
Yeah,
getting it?
you're right.
So
Yeah.
what's going on there, right?
Hmm.
What's happening that makes that feeling different than what you're so you can say like, okay, well, Isaac Newton said this. Okay, great. However, it doesn't explain the actual phenomenon that's happening. Um, and so that's where I think, and this is a very rudimentary idea when we think about the paranormal, because really, do we know anything for sure? No, we can't repeat it in the lab, but we can repeat it every night at the club with the bands. We can
Yes.
repeat it every night at the movie theater and so there is some kind of non-physical communication going on. It's being proven, it's been proven in the lab with, they call it the Gansfeld,
I've heard of that.
whole field, German Gans whole field. Um, you've seen it if you've looked at PSI, the idea of that psi is like shorthand for um, ESP, extrasensory perception.
Okay. Yeah.
When people are doing research, they call it, psi research, PSI.
Okay.
Psionics would be a term for it, but it's that Greek prefix, the idea that your
Mm,
mind is doing something.
sure.
Psychology.
Exciting.
Okay. Um, you so the psi research they've done, what they use this, they call it the whole field because it's the idea it's a sensory deprivation chamber. So you get somebody going in there, maybe there's a red light on them. They got ping pong balls over their eyes. They got,
I've
headphones
seen.
like we
Yeah.
do to block
Mhm.
out stuff. And they're in a sensory deprivation and someone's trying to send them a message just using their minds,
Mhm.
thinking about an image, thinking about, a feeling, thinking about something and seeing if someone can pick that up. Now, here's an example of an experiment that I did when I was a psychology major at the University of Wisconsin
Oh, cool.
1,000 years ago. Um, it was using the Gansfeld. So it was putting somebody in a sensory deprivation chamber, or that idea, the headphones, the light, the ping pong balls, and then someone in another room is trying to send them one of 20 pictures. So I printed out 20 pictures and everybody's looking at the picture, right? They're looking at the picture and they're trying to send it to the other person. Then for 5 minutes. So this person sits there for 20 minutes and then I would show them a multiple choice of the pictures. Okay.
Mm,
So
okay.
I'm like, okay. So now I give them, what was the first picture you saw? And I give them 5 pictures to look at. What was the second picture? Give them 5 pictures to look at. And statistically, you would think, okay, they're going to get like 1 out of 4,
Right.
correct, just
Uh-huh.
based on chance.
Right.
And we got, like 35, 36%. So
Wow.
it beat chance, number one. Number two, when I did it with my guitar player, and we were partners on him, and he's sending a picture to me, and I'm sending a picture to him. We got all of them correct.
Wow. Okay.
Um, now that now again, I don't know what that proves. It proves some kind of non-physical communication,
Sure.
and that's been one thing they could repeat in a lab. And it did. What I meant was the Ganzfeld was really done in Europe, 1970s through 1990s. It was a big thing that they could repeat. The thing that they could repeat is that if you would expect that by chance you would only get a certain amount correct,
Right.
it would always beat it. And you could have 100 people do it, and it would always beat the chance. Now, would it be 100% of the time? No. Would it be 75% of the time? No. But it would always be more than what probability would lend itself to show.
Sure.
So that kind of thing, okay. Oh, all right. So now we know there's some kind of non-physical communication going on between people. And,
Yes.
and, and so this is what
It-
I was trying to express, that music shows that happens. Psi research shows that that happens. Um, when you want to get into the world of paranormal, if we're talking about seeing things that can't be explained, premonitions of something in the future that happen, stuff that science can't rationalize, but yet people still, it happens to them.
Mhm.
Um, okay, now we have a basis. There's some way that we can get information in our heads that isn't physical, it's not coming in as a sound wave. It's not coming in as, we're not seeing something light. We're not reading something. We're not hearing it. We're not getting the message, but still a message is received.
Mm.
Okay. If we see a ghost, you see something walk across the room. You see, in Madison, Wisconsin, here we are. We are, how north are we, right? We are, a couple hundred miles from Canada.
Yeah.
Um, Never any kind of Civil War battle took place in Madison, Wisconsin.
It's true.
Okay. But people have seen Confederate soldiers here. People who don't even know that um, there was ever a Confederate soldier in Madison, Wisconsin. And they're like, why would I see a Civil War soldier when there was no Civil War battles here? Okay. And then, um, and I think I've told this story a bunch of times before, but this one always gets me. There's a podcast in town. It's the guys from the Insane Asylum. Have you met the guys from the Insane Asylm?
No, I
They do a
haven't.
podcast. They do it for like a Facebook Live. Really
That's
nice,
cool.
really nice guys. But one of the hosts of it used to work in security at the Rayovac factories. The Rayovac batteries
Oh.
used to be made on East Washington Avenue here in
Oh,
Madison.
okay. I didn't know
So
that.
the people outside Madison, Wisconsin, you have the Capitol, which is kind of the center of town. It's got a square around it for, with bars and restaurants and law
Yeah.
offices and all the kind of things that a Capitol. And then you have some streets going off it in a grid. And one of those streets is called East Washington Avenue. And it's the main drag that goes from the Capitol to the interstate, for like 3 or 4 miles down there.
Yeah.
And that's been a main drag here for 170 years. But the railroad used to cross East Washington,
Hmm.
and there's a certain spot where the soldiers would get on and off the railroad. That's where the station was. They get on and
Okay.
off. Today they call that spot Union Corners.
Okay.
Union, because that's where, when they would go fight for the Union, they'd come from different parts of the state. That's where they get on the train and then they go off to war.
Wow. Okay.
Including, I just found out my great great grandfather. We just found his conscription papers. Like, he just had gotten off the boat from Germany
Oh my
and
God.
had come. It wasn't Germany quite yet, because I know it was in Germany until the 1870s, and this is like 1863. He gets off the
Hmm.
boat, comes to Wisconsin, and he gets conscripted into the war.
Oh wow.
Um,
No.
goes to fight. He got on the train at Union Corners, went out the war. He doesn't become a citizen until 1867, so he fights in the war
Wow.
before he's even a citizen.
Does it?
I'm like,
You think he gets a citizenship because he joined the war?
that was probably part of it, you
Sure.
know. But it was funny and interesting because my dad just found that, and then I found his picture.
Oh, really? That's
He
awesome.
looks like my dad with like a Civil War beard. Like,
That's
he
awesome.
looks like my dad with a Civil War beard. Like I can tell he's related.
That's cool.
So we just found that in, a bunch of old papers of the family. Anyway, so just, but where he would have gotten, he's from like the middle of the state, a little more north, or, is where he was settling. But when he goes out to fight, when you come down to Madison, and then you get on the train, and then you go to the war. So you have this place where all these soldiers had gotten on the train, gotten off the train. Now, this is where the Rayovac factory is eventually built.
Hmm.
Right here, the batteries. Originally called the French Battery Company. I mean, they didn't start in Madison; they started in Chicago. But it was one of those, businesses that were like led away from
Mm.
a city to be, hey, come to Madison.
Sure.
Oscar Mayer and things.
Yeah, Oscar
They've
Mayer, I was
always
going to
like,
say that.
yeah,
Yeah.
come here. And they became big businesses here for years,
Hmm.
decades. Okay, head of security. He tells me, he's like, hey, um, I had a security guard tell me that she saw a Confederate soldier walk through the factory. And she's like, what the hell is this? Why is there a Confederate soldier walking through the factory?
Oh my
And
God.
and I'm like, wait, the Rayovac factory? I'm like, why the Rayovac factory? It's because that was the place we had Confederate POWs in Wisconsin, in Madison, at Camp Randall. So Camp Randall, where the Badgers play, was a
Yes.
military camp during the Civil War.
Oh my God.
It was the northernmost prisoner of war camp. So they brought Confederate soldiers here, and then we had a terrible. The conditions were so bad at our POW camp that a couple hundred Confederate soldiers die. I mean, illness and dysentery just goes through the entire camp. A lot of Confederate soldiers died. In fact, we have a Confederate cemetery in one
Yeah.
of Madison's things.
I think isn't this one here?
That's right, Forest Hill, and that's because at Camp Randall the conditions were so bad they shut it down.
Oh my God.
They're like, you guys can't be a POW camp. Like like Camp Randall was shut down as a POW camp because they took such poor care of the Confederate soldiers. But
Jesus.
where they would have gotten off the train before they came to Camp Randall to eventually get diseases and perish, was right at where the Rayovac factory was.
That's amazing. I didn't know that.
So it's little things like that, um, that are exciting because they got no idea, and there's not like anything implanted in your head to make you think about that.
No.
Right? So you're seeing that. No, what are you seeing? Are you seeing the lost soul of a Confederate soldier? Are you seeing a recording? Something that's in the land that, like,
Stone tape theory.
right. Are you seeing the stone tape, right? That it gets replayed at the right time.
Yes.
The grooves in vinyl, you play that, you do
Oh
the
yeah.
grooves with a needle, you hear Sergeant Pepper or whatever. Um, could like video, or not video, but could
Think of a hologramish thing.
visual things be recorded into the walls of things, like the Beatles got recorded into vinyl,
Yeah.
and then
This-
in the right circumstances it just plays, and all of a sudden Johnny Reb walks across your thing.
Yeah, because a lot of people report seeing the ghost doing the same thing over and over again. So it's it does make it sound like it is on a recording and of some sort. Because it
Right.
makes you kind of terrified to think that like after you die, you're just going to be trapped in a room, kind of doing the same old thing, majigger.
Well,
You know what I'm saying? For all eternity.
Right, there's a ghost of the Orpheum Theater downtown.
Okay.
Orpheum built in 1926, 1927 for what was the considerable sum of, like $750,000 at a time. So it was like, oh my God, there's the state of the art kind of theater, vaudeville and stuff. And so that, that theater is just approaching 100 years old, and it's right in downtown Madison. This is the other side of the Capitol Square. If you think of East Washington,
Yes.
where we were talking about the Rayovac factory, you take the other side of the Capitol Square is State Street, and that's kind of
Yes.
the entertainment district for people who like to, that's bars and restaurants, and it connects
Awesome.
it connects the Capitol to the university. So the other end of State Street is Memorial Union and Bascom Hill and Memorial Library, and it's all so State Street encompasses the things about Madison that make it, kind of what it is. And one is the university, and the other is the state capitol. So, so the Orpheum Theater. Oh, and why did I want to? I was going to tell this story about. I just. Oh, okay. I started. I sometimes I wanted to explain to people what the Orpheum
That's
Theater
fine.
was.
Take your time.
Yeah, so I'm going back and we're talking about the things that people have seen and the hauntings people have seen.
Hmm.
And so the Orpheum is interesting because it's built, it's got that theater energy of which it seems like every kind of theater has some story associated with it, has some ghost associated with it. Now, whether that's people, the actors that have the blood, sweat, and tears that go into a performance, whether they're leaving, this is what I was getting to, talking about the stone tape,
Okay.
and also having to do the same thing over and over again, because there's a
Sure.
particular haunting there that seems particularly unpleasant for the guy that had to do it. All right.
Okay.
So, but theaters already have stories. Now, whether it's going to be, they leave all that energy on the stage, all that emotion. Now, is that emotion leaving its own kind of recording? Is it the kind of people who are attracted to performance, right? So the kind of people that are attracted to performance where they just don't want to leave the spotlight.
Yeah.
This is
Oh,
where I had the best days of my life. This is where I had the best show of my life. This is where I had the best. I don't want to go. I'm
that's
not.
how you and me are going to be. We're going to be on some, I think, some stage.
I'm gonna.
I
I'm
want to
probably
play
gonna-
forever.
Yeah, I'm probably at some webcam. Is probably how it's going to end up. I'll be haunting somebody's webcam. I'm not ready. I'm not ready to turn it off.
That's awesome.
But at the Orpheum, there's a particular ghost, and I remember the guy told me about 20 years ago, and he used to work and clean it, and he said when he started, the staff said, "Well, okay, you'll be here alone at night while you're cleaning. You might hear the night manager." The night manager. What's that about? Like,
Yeah, what's
okay,
that?
well, there's a hallway. There's a hallway.
Some guy
you
just
know-
lives here.
Right. Don't worry. It's just a homeless guy in the back. It's all right. He's fine. Just,
Tunnel Bob.
right. Well, he's his own guy. And
Oh,
I'll tell you what.
made,
I'll tell you.
I made an episode about Tunnel Bob on my podcast, a short
Oh.
video. It's amazing.
yes.
I made it with AI.
Yeah, no, Jeff mentioned that when I saw him on Jeff from Badgerland Legends. I saw him this
Yeah.
weekend at a show.
Oh,
and
cool.
he was mentioning, he's like, oh, yeah, I did a Tunnel Bob thing. That was really cool. So Tunnel Bob, everybody out there, there are steam tunnels under the University of Wisconsin.
Like 20 miles long, right?
Yeah. And this is just a guy who kind of explored all of the steam tunnels.
All of them.
And I remember one night and I'll get to, I'm digressing here.
That's all right.
We'll get to Tunnel Bob in a second. Let me finish this.
Okay.
So the Orpheum, so the night manager, there's a hallway as you're going, from one area of the theater to the next. And then there's also a second theater behind the big theater where the bands play. There's a second theater. And it was a movie theater for a long time. Terrible audio there, so I can't recommend going. But bands would also play there sometimes too. And they're like a back theater of the Orpheum.
Cool.
And
Well, I remember that place. The Crest had played there before. Yeah,
right.
I know
So
where that is.
you have the main theater that
Yep.
seats like 1,200, 1,300 people, and you have a back theater that seats like 300 or 400 people.
Yep. It's amazing. Yeah.
And that area between the front and the back theater, you would hear someone walking and keys jangling. They'd be like, "Oh, that's the night manager." And people would also see an area in the main theater where they'd see somebody mopping up the floor. And they'd be like, "Oh, I wonder what spilled." Well, they said that's the night manager was working in the balcony right above that, fell over, died.
Oh.
And so he was spending his afterlife cleaning up the stain of his own death in the middle of the theater. Right. So, like when you said, like, are we cursed to do the same thing over and over
Oh,
again?
right.
Imagine if you have to clean up your own blood stain for an
Yeah.
eternity. Um, so
Uh,
that, so it's those kind of things. When I think about that, it's like,
wow.
what's the last thing on earth I'd like to do? Is like clean up my own death site
Yeah,
because
fuck that.
I'm st
Brains
right
everywhere.
because I'm still making a manager's wage 100 years
Oh,
after
right.
I'm dead,
I'm still
and
making a
I
penny over here.
I still have to double, I still have to check out the back theater and walk back and forth between the places. But maybe he loved it so much.
Wow. Yeah,
Maybe he took it as a thing of pride. Or
true.
maybe it's some kind of recording.
Yes.
Or maybe it's us hearing a story and something in there is activating that vision for us.
Ooh,
It's
that's
we talk about
that's like a Matrix type of talk right
well,
there.
when you talk about when we talk about non-physical communication, we talk about non-physical communication,
Okay.
then we're talking about it doesn't have to go through our ears, it doesn't have to go through our eyes, it doesn't have to go through our nose, but it can activate the neurons inside.
Hmm.
So, is it
Endless.
just activating some kind of memory, activating some kind of um, archetype? I think Jungian,
Sure.
we have these ideas of archetypes. That there's certain characters. It's the woman in white. It always exists in, right? The woman in white always exists in so many different ghost stories.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
you're like, well, maybe it hits the woman in white button, hit play.
Sure.
Now I don't know, guy, uh, t- doing the mop in the middle of the theater. I don't know if that's an actual push play for it, but it is. If non-physical communication is possible, and it seems like we've proven enough of that, then then ghost stories become a lot more believable because maybe they're not it doesn't necessarily have to be souls, it doesn't have to be demons, I don't know, it doesn't have to be these non-physical entities, but can we be communicated with and see things that aren't there or were there, um, because we are capable of receiving things, receiving messages and visuals and hearing, and there's the smell of the paranormal too, right?
Yeah.
People smell sulfur,
Sulfur. I was gonna say that. Yeah.
right? Brimstone, right? I mean, the whole book. Josh Cutchin wrote a whole book on the smell of the
I love
paranormal.
Constantine. You hear they're making a new
Oh,
one?
oh yeah, no, Constantine's a classic. That was
Oh God, that's amazing. Great concept. Great comic book.
yeah.
Yeah.
We used to play when I was in high school. We used to play this game called Vampire the Masquerade,
Oh, cool.
and it was a role playing game like Dungeons and Dragons, but everyone plays a vampire. And
Yeah. Yeah.
we did a live action version of it, which was like a theatrical experience that you'd have to design. So we did like once a month. You kind of write a story.
That's
Everybody
creative.
plays a character, and one of the
Yeah.
guys, I remember one of the guys like had to make special rules for him because he wanted to be John Constantine, or his character is based on John Constantine.
Oh, that's tight. Did he put his tattoos together like to get
Right.
an angel to come down and help him?
I mean, it was.
Gabriel.
He did have a bunch of things. We like designed some special rules for him
That's
because
so
he
cool.
wanted to have that Hellblazer, that character, and that's what I first heard of him. He's like, "You ever read John Constantine?" I'm like, "Dude, I've been too busy working on vampires for the past
Yeah,
couple."
right.
Um,
The Lost Boys.
right. I'm still in this area.
I-
I'm still in Anne Rice, and you're on a whole different level.
the Frog Brothers.
But Corey Feldman, and then some guy whose name I don't know. But Corey Feldman's he's always up to something.
Yeah.
He's another musician.
I actually reached out to the other guy, Ellen Frog, to be on
Oh
the
yeah?
podcast because we were friends on Facebook, and I reached out. He never reached back out to me. He read my shit, so I see
Right, you
that.
see, it's delivered. It's like
Yeah.
don't
It's
leave
been
me
delivered.
on don't leave me on read,
No, I just wanted him
Feldman.
to talk about vampires and his experience of being on Lost Boys, and I
Right.
love the series. I love that whole concept of that movie is great.
Oh, that
Yeah.
I mean, no question. I used to have the poster
Oh, sweet.
Even up to like I think I was like 28 and I still had the poster in my bedroom. You
That's
know,
awesome.
sleep all day, party all night. It's fun to be a
Yeah.
vampire, or whatever the poster was.
Yeah.
Um, so Tunnel Bob, real quick.
Yeah, let's go
So
back to
let's
Tunnel
go back to like
Bobby.
1996. 1996, I was living in Celery Hall, which is in Madison. That's the corner of Johnson Street and Park, isn't it? Corner of Johnson Street and Park.
Okay.
And it's very next, it's very close to Bascom Hill. And there was some of my friends like, hey, um, one of the tunnel entrances is open next to Bascom Hill.
Okay.
Like the lock was broken.
Oh,
And they're
okay.
like, do you, it's like a Friday night. They're like, you want to go in the tunnels? And I'm like, yes. And it was winter, so it's cold. So we get in the tunnels, and in the tunnels, it is really hot.
That's
Have
super
you,
hot.
you've been there, Justin?
I haven't been, but I've been told, and he
Yeah.
said that no one can really be down there, live down there, obviously, because they'd probably die because of the heat.
Yeah, it's hot.
I'm surprised no homeless people go down there in winter time.
Well,
Oh, maybe
okay,
they
so we're going down there.
do. Okay.
And this is 30 years ago, right? And we're exploring, and it's all, I mean, it's interesting. And we come up to a spot where there is a sleeping bag
Oh my God. That's
and
terrifying.
half a rat
Oh, what?
and half a rat.
Oh no, bro. Get the fuck out of there.
So so somebody's living down there and eating rats.
Straight up.
And we're like, bye.
Yeah.
So we keep moving, and then we ended up we got out. I can't. We got out in North Hall, like one of the doors wasn't locked, and so we were able to get up into North Hall and then actually get out to the front.
Oh,
And we get in trouble because there's no cameras at the time.
no, no.
Now, I mean, you'd probably be like, do not pass go, go directly to jail. So I don't recommend anybody to do it. But back, you could do those things, and it was also, we weren't really causing any trouble. We just wanted to check it out. And
Sure.
we always heard that the steam tunnels were weird. And somebody's like, hey, I saw one of the locks was broken. And so it was like right off Park Street, maybe across from Chadbourne Hall. Um, just one of the manholes or whatever, manhole covers. You could just lift it up and then you
Yeah.
climb down into the steam tunnels. And we were there for a couple hours until we saw the rat catcher and thought it was. And,
Well, how'd you not get lost down there? Like I feel like I
well,
can only
we
go a
did get
few
lost,
feet.
but it's only nobody knew where they were going.
No, I
But I
know,
mean,
but it's
but
Jesus.
you find the nearest door, and it ended up being North Hall, which ends up, and that's only maybe 200 yards from where we started. So that's the kind
So
of maze
bizarre.
you're going around. We were in there for a long time, and then you end up just a few hundred yards from where you started.
So I work at Unity Point Health Hospital, and I
Okay.
see Tunnel Bob in the basement. He's got a tag. I'm like, what? And he's in the tunnels. I'm like, there must be a tunnel system going down underneath the hospital into
I
the.
see.
But I don't know. Like, I don't know if he does get certain permission because I heard he had tons of tickets from police officers for doing, and
I'm
he,
sure.
I remember my friend working at 7-Eleven on Old University, and Tunnel Bob was on the internet looking at porn and shit. It's like he's got a repetition of being a little bit of a peeping Tom or something too.
Well, if you're going to spend that much time underground,
Yeah, right. The real Mo
um,
Man.
right, and he was an urban legend for a long time too.
He's
That
got
people
his
were
own
like,
Wikipedia.
right. But I mean, it was up until maybe YouTube that I think that people, or maybe in the early 2000s, I think one of the student newspapers, Badger Herald, did
Hmm.
a interview, and they finally got Tunnel Bob. Like we finally had a real confirmation that Tunnel Bob existed.
Yeah.
Because before then, you could be like, oh, there's nobody that actually just rolls around the steam tunnels all the time. And then all of a sudden there was. Okay, there is a guy that rolls around the steam tunnels all the time. Here he is. And now he's like, hey, I'm Bob. And you're like, oh, man. And so he's a real guy. And he's been doing it
He's
since,
very like
for 40 years,
he's
50.
super tall, like I don't know, 6'7" or some shit.
What? Like Hulk Hogan? That's huge.
Well, I don't know. He's tall, man, and he's super lanky, and he's got his his back is like a question mark. You know, it's fucking.
Okay.
I don't know if you've seen him lately. He's got his
I
hair like long as mine now.
I
He's still
haven't.
got
I mean,
he's still got the bushy mustache though.
I've only seen him from like a YouTube video where people like I interviewed Tunnel Bob or the original time that they confirmed his existence.
Oh yeah,
So
I could confirm it for you next time.
I
Next time I
haven't.
see him,
I mean,
I'll snap a picture.
I haven't seen him in person because the one time I was down there when we saw like half a rat. We're like, ah, we're out of here,
That is
right? Because
insane.
if this person's hungry, like I don't want to be here when it's dinner time.
No, they're eating a rat like a full rat. It's just like
Right?
having
Like
guts.
ah, I'm like,
You see the bite marks in it. That's
yeah,
human. Oh God.
yeah.
No, that's so
I
gnarly.
mean, maybe they brought their dog down there because you know how sometimes people have
Sure,
dogs with them.
sure. But I like to think it's a human.
I well, if sure,
We do have the Epstein files.
right. That was the
Jesus
mood.
Christ.
That was the feeling when we were there.
Oh, sure.
Um, so I was like, we're out
Tell
of
him Bob will definitely make it feel like the Epstein files in that motherfucker.
and he is, I mean, obviously, I mean, I didn't know he was that big of a guy, and that's interesting because it's not conducive
That's
to
why
tall people.
no, and that's the thing. That's why he probably is crouched like that all the time when I'm
Sure, like he's got osteoporosis or
Yeah,
something.
I think
Yeah.
his back is like oh God.
But that, I mean, it's
That's
just the kind of guy he finds something that he's into, and then they make obviously you find a way to heat,
right.
um,
And the
especially
fact that I think like he was maybe escaping his reality above ground and he had
sure.
like he found comfort in that place. But again, it's just like he became an urban legend and like a figure that still talks about today. Like college kids know who he is. That's so gnarly to me. And I knew him back in high school, who he was, you know.
Oh, I mean, yeah, right. He's still no, he's
He's
an
still
urban legend,
popular with the
but
kids. It's so
there was
nuts.
there was all, I mean, there was different like kind of characters around there.
Oh, we have
Um,
Art Paul.
yeah, he's definitely a
He's,
character. Um,
was
there
that
was when I was at
Radar Dan or Raider Dan or
Scanner Dan,
Scanner Dan? Yeah, he
Scanner Dan.
died. Didn't he
Yeah,
die
no,
recently?
Scanner Dan's gone.
Yeah.
I had a public access TV show in college
Oh,
on, and so we had somebody interviewed Scanner Dan for one of the episodes, and I'd met him and talked to him a couple of times, and
how'd that go?
well, he was a character,
Yeah.
um, but uh, or there was Cosmo, who is I remember one time I was eating with one of my friends in Gino's, which is a kind of nicer Italian restaurant. When I'd
Yeah.
have dates in college, I would take girls to Gino's or whatever.
Oh, nice. Oh,
And so
yeah.
sitting outside, talking to this girl, and then Cosmo just comes up. He's got a guitar, one string, and Cosmo never wore a shirt.
One
He looked like
string.
he looked like Iggy Pop. He really had that Iggy Pop body, I mean, just, I mean, I'm jealous because his body fat must have been like 9%. Really, I was like, look at that 9 pack or whatever. Really, he had just
And he's got the one string guitar.
he had a one string guitar, and he comes right up to where there's maybe 10 people eating outside, and he's
Uh,
just yeah, just like playing one string out of tune. And it's not like there's a guy named there's a musician called That One Guy, and he plays this gigantic tube, and it's got one string. It's like a string bass with
yeah.
one string, and it's all MIDI activated, and he's got this amazing show. So I'm not saying you can't do a show with one
No,
string.
no.
I'm
But
saying
this guy sounds
I'm saying
ridiculous.
I'm saying Cosmo couldn't do a show with one string. And it just but yeah, I'm like, oh man, this is really cramping my style.
Yeah.
And you paid him to go away. You want a tip? It's like, oh yeah. It's like usually you pay him like, hey, that song was great. Here's a couple bucks.
Yeah.
Here's a couple bucks. Please leave.
Please leave. Yeah.
Um, and so but they were all these characters that kind of lived. And Tunnel Bob was just one of those characters.
Yes.
That kind of small town or mid-level towns, especially college towns, tend to excel at.
Yes.
I think of the downtown characters.
Have you seen? There's a college kid that made a rap music video about Ton of Bob, and it's really, really good. I'll
I'm gonna
send it
have
to you.
to.
I'll send it to
I'm
you.
gonna have to check it out. It
I'll
sounds
send
fun.
it to you. It's
That sounds fun.
amazing.
That's not. Well,
But
you
no,
never.
it's I love how creative these kids get with the characters too. It's not
Well,
saying that they hate the people or making fun of them, but again, it's just they're so unique in a way where we just can't understand why they're doing certain things. And yeah, I just love how mythanizing they became, you know?
right.
I'm sorry.
It becomes the legends of the city.
Yes.
Um, and that's when you're showing people the city and when you're going out and you're doing the tours. I show American Ghost Walks. We do, haunted history tours. We've got about 25 cities right now. And um, that's part of it is what makes this city interesting. Who are the local characters? And you don't want to do it in an exploitative way,
Hmm.
right? Because I mean, sometimes like we talk joking about Scanadan and stuff like that. Well, Scanadan was mentally ill, you
Yeah,
know.
he was. Yeah.
Um, Cosmo, yeah, mentally ill, and
Yeah.
so you wouldn't, right? But that doesn't. That's also yes, the guy's, but it also doesn't make it not funny that when I'm sitting there trying to talk to somebody
Sure.
and he's playing the
Yes.
one string guitar and you pay him to leave, like that's just who he was, and that's what you
Yeah.
know. Um, and so you want to treat, and this is I think the characters in history that we talk about in these tours. Um, you treat them with empathy and you treat them according to the times they lived.
Yes.
Um, and that can give you a taste of how the people who live in a certain place, what they believe, what they think. Um, I've been thinking about Alaska a lot lately because we started doing tours in Alaska last year,
Hmm.
and we're just getting ready to launch the cruise ship season in Alaska starts in a couple weeks.
That's
And
awesome.
so, um, but in Alaska, prostitution was legal until 1959.
Really?
I think, yeah, to the Eisenhower administration,
Wow,
right?
I didn't know that.
And so, yeah, totally. I mean, completely legal. So you have all these characters, um, who are in the ghost stories. They're in the places, and they're prostitutes or
Huh.
madams, or and it's part of the history because you have a gold mining town.
Right.
So you have all these men coming for the Alaskan gold rush,
Right.
racing up into the middle of nowhere to try to make their fortune. Okay, dudes get lonely, things happen.
Yeah.
And so people find a way to make money. And a lot of these women found a way to make money through prostitution. And okay, so the way we it's just you treat these characters, especially when you have maybe the memories of the ghosts, or you have these people that sometimes, so some of these people didn't die until like the 1970s.
Right.
So there's still people that knew them,
Oh,
right?
yeah. Sure. Sure. Sure.
So when you're talking about the legend or the ghost story associated with them, you don't make a judgment,
No.
right? So we talk about Dolly from Dolly's house in Ketchikan, Alaska, which is like the famous prostitute house at the end of Creek Street. And Dolly worked well into her old age as and she's a character. There's even there's somebody that works in her old house, and they turned it into a museum and dresses like her and tells stories like her, right?
That's funny.
And they talk about the ghost stories that people have seen Dolly. They still see Dolly to this day. And
Sure.
but she was um making sure the miners had a good time. Um and she was a character in her own right. And there's all these, especially there's powerful women who had lived in these places. But I'm just saying, so we treat those. So when you're thinking about, okay, we're writing a story, we're telling the history, um, you treat those people with respect and
Yeah.
empathy, and like, oh, well, a prostitute. Blah, blah, blah. Are we going to make a judgment, or are we going to be like, here's their story, and here's what they did, and here's what makes it interesting, and here's why it's important to the town.
Sure.
Um, and I think doing that makes it compelling. It makes it not cliched.
Hmm.
You don't just take the archetypes of everybody and be like, well, this is what you expect. So now I'm going to do this for you. And then, now I'm just going to tell you the story. Um, we often, I think about this because you think of American Indian burial grounds, right?
Hmm.
And so you always have that story of like, okay, this was built on an American Indian burial ground.
They
So
don't want
that
to touch it or go.
blah blah blah, they're all
Yeah,
mad and things like. And so there's these generic um stories about these tribes and just generic kind of vengeance stories that exist in our heads, but that may have no relation to the actual history of the tribe or the beliefs of the people or all these kinds of things.
sure.
And you know, and it's treating people as an other, or treating groups of people and stuff like as an other. They're not like us, they're different, you understand, we did this, and then they're all mad and they're all vengeance and they're blah blah blah, they're gonna do a rain dance. It's to me, that's not, I mean, that's just taking cliches, and it's not fun.
Sure.
The cliche, you don't, it's like, okay, this is a prostitute, yeah, she's a super interesting character, let me tell you about it. Sure, that's what she did for money, but let me tell you why she was really important in the history of the town. um and so I think learning some of those characters in Madison 30 years ago and trying to treat them with empathy and respect, even if sometimes I would find them incredibly annoying,
Sure.
um, fed into how we try to treat these local characters and stories with respect. And you try not to do it in a cliched kind of way. You
Sure.
try to find, okay, is there really um, a Ho Chunk legend associated with it? Is there really a Tlingit legend, if we think about Alaska, associated with this place? Is there really a Sioux legend, a Dakota legend, if we think about Minneapolis, associated with this place? Well, let's find
Right.
it. And let's tell
Right.
people the real legend.
Right.
Um, Instead of just saying, oh, there's a burial ground here, that's why it's haunted.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get into some details. Let's treat
Yeah.
it with respect. Let's find the beliefs. Let's find the humans behind the
Let's
story.
ask a Native American
Right.
if this
Well,
is legit.
right. Instead of and so I think, and that's what we really try to, because that's what makes it fun. That makes it
Yes.
fun for me. I want to create tours and ghost stories and all this kind of thing that I want to hear and I want to go on and I want to be part of.
Yes.
And that means, finding, treating humans as the people they were and finding their stories and then trying your best to express those stories in a way that's compelling and compassionate to everything. And that could be Tunnel Bob, or that could be
Yeah.
Scanner Dan,
Yeah.
or that could be, someone that, died in a brothel, that, that could be a
Well,
gangster.
maybe I'll be the next local loon.
Right. It could be
The
Dustin.
UFOs are coming. The UFOs are coming.
And I could be like, you guys should have met Dustin. He was nuts.
He was insane. He wore a bozo shirt.
Right.
But
But
no, that's awesome.
but I think that's what makes it compelling, is just is not being exploited, because it's easy to be exploitative and it's easy to try to find the blood and guts and everything.
Sure.
I mean, you can do that in because we do like tours about H.H. Holmes,
Oh yeah, yeah,
The
yeah.
Devil in the White City in Chicago. We
That
touch
guy was
upon,
crazy.
oh, yeah, I mean, terrible things.
You seen that guy Albert Fish, who's like a
Oh yeah,
cannibal,
yeah. I
uh,
mean, they
pedophile, rapist,
they were
fucking
trying to
crazy fuck.
yeah, they were trying to compare Albert Fish, and I did a whole deep dive with Jeff from Badgerland Legends about this in our Wisconsin Legends podcast a couple of
Hmm.
years ago.
Oh, cool.
Um, the way they were trying to compare Albert Fish to Jeffrey Dahmer,
Oh yeah. Hmm.
and there are some similarities, but people really. I mean, I'm not Dahmer, obviously terrible things. I'm not just trying to find sympathy for me. I mean, but when you want to tell a story, you want to try to tell it accurately.
Sure.
And people talking about him like a cannibal, like, oh, that was his thing. He wanted to eat people, or no, that
No,
was, I mean,
he's just trying to get closer to his victims.
well, right. What I think what's interesting about him is that he's got and this is where I start grossing people out when they talk about Tom Jeffries. I'm like,
Oh,
okay,
I love
but
hearing it. Come on.
he had a fetish for torsos.
Yes.
Okay, so he's really, and he said, I'm into swimmers. I mean, I like swimmers' bodies.
Hmm.
Okay, and um, he brings he brings a mannequin home
Yep, that's
He
right.
steals the mannequin, brings it home.
Just
you know,
Jack laid on it. Yeah. His
right.
grandma
He's got
finds
this
it.
bingo. So
Hmm.
he's got this torso there, and this whatever fetish he had was about this kind of still torso. He that's what he was interested in. Like, people have different things they're into.
Hmm.
Most of them aren't murderous and destructive. But in order to get that, what he wanted, an alive human, he had to paralyze them, unalive them, all those kind of things. And so his um, his real interest was that kind of sexual gratification with a still torso.
True. Yep.
And then it's like all the murders really ramped up. Like he
Yeah.
kills a guy in the mid 70s.
Or even his sexual gratification even ramped up. He was masturbating to uh, mutilated bodies too. Like he had
Right.
Polaroid photos of every stage of what he was doing to masturbate to. Where he would have men in the bathtub with ice, and he'd just fucking take showers with them and then masturbate on them and shit. And
So and he's drinking the whole time. So his drinking really
he's drinking the whole time.
drinking accelerates. He loses his job, and then it accelerates, and then he's instead of going like once every few months, then it becomes like once every couple weeks,
Yeah.
and that's when he gets caught. But it's while he's in that kind of he was in a throes of drinking all the time, of killing people he's on the prowl a lot.
Yeah.
We also talk about this in the in that podcast. Was there a racial element to his I think maybe because obviously in 1980s Milwaukee it might have been a lot easier to kill black guys and not get caught.
Sure.
you know
Yeah.
Part of it might have been attraction. I was looking at, speaking of body fat, the body fat levels of white guys and black guys in the 1970s, 80s, and 90s. The average body fat level of um, a black male was a couple points less than the average body fat level of a white male. So if specifically he's looking for that swimmer body built torso, he has a lot higher chance of finding it from a black male in the 1980s in Milwaukee than
Sure.
he did.
Sure.
Not
He
saying,
lived amongst a lot of the blacks too.
yeah,
So,
in the community. It's just when I think, did he target them on purpose because of their race? I'm not sure, but maybe the race was part of the attraction.
sure.
And so because Milwaukee in the late 80s and early 90s really, I think a lot of America was. You saw that with the riots in Los Angeles for Rodney King, and then eventually the OJ stuff. There was a lot of that tension in the community, and especially between the police and those communities and all those kind of things. And so, but when you want to talk about, well, what are the things that made somebody kill 17 people, of which a majority were, African American men? Let's take the politics of the zeitgeist and everything out of it, and let's look at what possessed him to do it, so we can stop the next guy from doing it. Right?
Yeah.
So let's try to look at it clear-headed and not from any kind of agenda, and be like, what was he doing that made it happen? And part of that was his attraction to the swimmer bodies, body fat, the Milwaukee, the fact that AIDS and HIV were burning through that population at the time.
Sure.
So people would just disappear, and nobody else, because they would go to the hospital, and AIDS obviously was
Right.
such a tragic epidemic. And so people were also not as alerted to the deaths of their peers as they might have been, because there already was something that was killing gay guys in the city. And so they were just going, or they would and so it wasn't that way of like, oh, what happened to Bob or whatever, where'd he go?
Sure.
Like,
And
oh,
Jeffrey had a lot of close calls too.
yeah.
He was a con man, and the fact that he did a lot of it drunk, Jesus, hats off to that motherfucker. And the fact like those two police officers that had that one boy that escaped that had a fucking hole in his head. They're like, and he walks upon them. He's like, "Oh yeah, this is my boyfriend. Here, we just took some pictures just recently. Here, look at that." You would think the cops could smell what's going on in that house at that time
Well,
too? Like, Jesus, mother.
but there's also the problem. Also, though, the police were told to lay off that community
Yeah. Oh, that's true.
because
Okay.
because for
And
a
he's the
long
only
time,
white guy in that
because
community too. It's like, leave that guy alone.
under Harold Breyer, they were harder on the gay community in Milwaukee. So like the other chief was like, okay, we're gonna be less hard on them, and so they thought they were doing the right thing. I mean, they shouldn't have made jokes or whatever, like, oh, it's just a guy and his boyfriend. Wow,
He was like, he's
But
15 years old.
and I'm not trying to excuse culpability. And those guys did get, I mean, I think they did, there was a trial and everything
For the
it.
cops?
Yeah, I mean,
I thought they got off, or I thought they got,
they were, I mean,
something happened
did-
where
they did face.
there was an uproar in the black community where these cops kind of
definitely.
got like a little slap on the wrist, if anything.
But they didn't get convicted, and so
Yeah.
that was its own thing. But they did try to bring them to accountability for what
Sure.
they did. Like it wasn't. I mean, I was living in Milwaukee at the time. I was in
Oh, really?
freshman year of high school. I mean, right before freshman year of high school is when the discovery happened. So for me, I remember waking up in the morning. My mother was like, "You'll never believe what happened last night," and she's like, "Just watch the news." And that was they were carrying the
The tubs out.
not the tub, the 55-gallon cans,
Yeah.
out
Yeah.
of his apartment.
Yeah.
And you're like, holy crap. And she's like, it's right by the Ambrosia factory. I knew exactly where that was.
Yeah, it's by the rave, ain't it?
Yeah. And so, my mother had gone to Marquette, which in the area, and
Yeah.
she grew up in the South Side, and just it really was like okay, and so I paid close attention to it because this was our, this was shocking,
Yeah.
and it was easy to make jokes about it and focus on the salacious aspects instead of the things that they could have figured out how to stop him earlier.
Sure.
Part of it was that so he came to Madison after he was exposed himself to the kid. Eventually he kills his brother.
Yeah, isn't that
Right?
crazy?
Connor
Yeah.
Xanthophone.
Yeah.
I mean, that's another reason too, is that tragedy is that
Two people got fucked up in that
that-
family.
in that family, right? And that's another. It's a minority family in Milwaukee that maybe felt or they didn't get the justice they needed because they couldn't express it correctly or they couldn't
Right.
communicate. The
Was
police,
were they Hmong or Vietnamese or something like that?
Laotian? Oh, I can't remember. I hate to say something without it's
Sure,
just
sure.
because we're just talking off the top of my head. And I hadn't prepared to have a Dahmer conversation. I think it's important to talk about because
It is.
it's the kind of thing that is easily exploited and easy to be exploitative about when you're doing tours, when we show people parts of Milwaukee and they might have questions about Jeffrey Dahmer. You're gonna be like, here's the facts, here's the stuff, here's what happened, instead of, oh, this is where he used to eat people and you treat him like a Marvel character bad guy when he was a human that could have been stopped.
Yeah.
So after he's exposed himself to that, the poor Xanthophone kid, they send him to Madison to go see a therapist. Like, what can we do? And she says, unless we do something about this with some serious treatment now, this will turn violent. So the authorities knew that he was a threat. They knew, they didn't realize that he'd already killed that guy in Ohio,
Yeah.
in the 70s.
The hitchhiker.
Yeah. So they didn't know they killed it, but she said this is gonna end bad, and it certainly did. And nobody did anything about it, and that's the kind of thing where it's like, it's just you don't want to turn these boogeymen or these real life boogeymen, you don't want to dehumanize them to the point where you take away their agency and make excuses. Well, he's just evil.
Sure.
Mm,
He
yes.
fessed up to everything too.
Yeah.
Like
Like, yeah.
other serial killers, they barely said anything.
Right.
Like
He was
Gacy.
like, I did it.
Gacy fucking to his
Oh,
grave said, "I didn't kill those fucking kids." You know,
Dude, John Wayne Gacy.
oh,
What a.
man.
I mean, they're all monsters, but I think to me, part of telling the story accurately and making it compelling to people, and because people are going to be interested in dark history,
Oh
dark,
yeah.
dark.
Oh, I am. Yeah.
That is just it's the way it is, and true crime is part of what we do in our tours, but we try to make it uh, factual, non-salacious. You address the elephant in the room, and you kind of go here, like, here's the story. Here's the guy, in Los Angeles. Um, we used to do a bus tour there. Now, with gas prices and stuff like that, we haven't done a bus tour in a little bit, but we're about to do another tour of downtown that
Oh,
we're
cool.
working on, of downtown LA. And part of that is the Cecil Hotel. And the Cecil Hotel, famous for hauntings and stuff like that, but also you have two serial killers who lived there in the 1980s. One, Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker. Another guy named
Oh,
Jack
yeah.
Unterweger, who was a European guy who had already killed people in Europe and then got let out. And then came to America and then killed a bunch of people here too.
Uh-huh.
And they both lived at this place. And so, in addition to all the tragic history and Elisa Lamb, who died and they found her in the water like the water tower of the Cecil Hotel. There's
Wow.
also the serial killer history part of it,
Wow.
and the Night Stalker. I
Yeah.
mean, with all
That
of his
guy's crazy.
Satan stuff and his
Oh yeah.
666 and his devil imagery, which was right when the Satanic Panic was kicking off.
Yeah.
And it's
The
hard
Son
to
of Sam too is another satanic group.
Well, that's the thing. When people talk about, like, oh, the Satanic Panic, it's like, well, when you had guys like the Night Stalker and David Berkowitz running around,
Yeah.
like, yes, there are Satan worshipers murdering people.
Yeah. They
So
still are. You got Epstein and the fuckers.
I'm right. So I'm not blaming people for thinking like, okay, let's watch out a little bit for the devil worshipers,
Yeah. You might have to.
because they're killing people. And so you people are interested in that aspect of the history of the place, and so you want to introduce that, but you want to introduce that in a way that's you want to talk about it. Here's the facts.
Okay.
Here's what the psychologist said. Here's what the diagnostic and statistical manual, the DSM, that's used by the American Psychological Association. Here's what they were diagnosed as,
Okay.
instead of he was a crazy lunatic that disemboweled people and ate their guts. And from a pure horror storytelling
Yeah.
perspective, that might work better,
Sure.
but that's not kind of what we do. And
No.
we want to treat the victims with empathy. We want to treat we want to treat everything so that you learn the history and you feel compelled and you understand the story a little better and you feel
Yeah.
connected to the place in the way of I'm learning the story and it is terrible or it's
That's so
depressing or it's
cool.
tragic.
That's so cool you do that because when you do think of Dahmer, it's really hard to even like think of his victims. Maybe just because it's me, I have no idea. Because he always he's like the star of the show. Even like like brings shadows to those people. Where like that's what I'm saying. It's just kind of weird how it's like it's sad that these victims of serial killers just kind of gone in the mist because their fame has gone so high, of being like this weird
The
clown killer,
humans,
or like this guy's eating people and making human shrines with their bones and shit. You know what I'm saying?
the humans don't get remembered. The
No, they
people,
don't.
and so you
No.
try to find that way. And I mean, John Wayne Gacy is a very good example of that because
Yes. And there's
killed
still victims that are still trying
children.
to, yeah.
Just I mean, just brutal. And then buried him underneath the house and the whole deal. And you're like,
Yeah.
oh boy.
And you have a
Um,
fucking family living with you at the same time. I don't know how you're doing that.
well,
What the fuck?
that was BTK too, or like right
Well, that too. Yeah. The
like in
Iceman.
all those. I mean, and you're like, how can people be so blind to what's
Yeah.
happening around them? Um, but So, I mean, we don't do Dahmer and neighborhood tours or anything like that because we don't go to the old Ambrosia area. I mean, most of our stuff's in Milwaukee's the Third Ward or
Sure, sure.
um, but we have element. We talk about some true crime stuff. But to me, it's always when people talk about Milwaukee and their ghosts and paranormal, they're always like, yeah, because they get into true crime, like, yeah, Jeffrey Dahmer, and you're like, oh, yes, um, but we want to, you know, talk about it in a way that's not like he's some kind of guy that was just eating people or whatever.
No,
But he was
he was a perfect blend of. That's another thing. That's why you're not gonna see any other Dahmers out there as like him, because he was a perfect storm of his sexuality coming into play when he's going through puberty, and his homosexuality to even necrophiliac. I mean, he could have been just a straight up necrophiliac growing up too. And maybe if all these awesome realistic sex dolls that we have today, can you imagine that's all he needed? He
right.
would have left people
If he
alone.
if he just needed like a
Of one that with
who
this.
who was that swimmer that was real popular like 10 years ago? That Olympic guy that won more gold medals than anyone.
Yeah, yeah,
If he
yeah.
just needed a sex doll of that guy, and then he wouldn't have had to kill anybody,
Exactly, exactly.
well, like, wouldn't that have saved so many lives? Would have been great.
So yeah,
But
they didn't
but
have
no,
that in
that
the
thing.
80s. Oh,
But oh no, but okay, necrophilia, or was it the fact that it was the control over the person and couldn't move?
yeah, that
So
too.
it's like so necrophiliacs are turned on by the fact that they are dead.
Yeah,
Their paraphilia is the fact it's like okay, what it's the transgression that excites them.
sure.
And with him, it didn't seem like if he could have just if people would have maybe if he had enough money or something. And I'm trust me, the last thing I'm doing is defending Jeffrey Dahmer, but I'm
Yeah,
just saying we want to try to understand these people better so that they don't do it again.
yeah,
Right. So next time you get somebody, next time the psychiatrist says like, okay, he needs treatment now, or this is going to turn violent, they can
sure.
do that before 17 more people get murdered.
Yeah.
Um,
It's like what's his name? Jeff Kepler? Is that another guy that's one from
I'm not sure.
out in California where he's a serial killer picking up college girls
Oh
and
yeah,
he was killing them and chopping their heads off and having sex with their heads and he ended up
oh
killing his
God.
mother at the end of it because his mother was the one that was kind of tormenting him, abusing him, and he like he just like straight up like cut off her head and raped her body
Oh
and
geez,
like threw
Louise.
darts at her face and then took her vocal cords and threw it down the garbage disposal. Like
Just
Jesus.
the kind of mutilation. I mean, all that kind of stuff. Like it's just so dark that you do the human body, especially to your family and all those things. Um, it's we're fascinated with it because number one,
It's taboo.
real people did that, right?
Yeah, it's super taboo.
And so
Yeah,
you're like, okay, the transgression is, the fact that like the taboo, the transgression is fascinating, but then the fact that it's real is fascinating, and and then you think like, well, what? And we're always attracted to the salacious, and people. Oh, I'm not. Well, there's a reason that TMZ still exists,
yeah, exactly.
right?
Yeah.
It's because everybody, there's a little bit of Schadenfreude, the whole thing that involved with it,
I love Schadenfreude. Oh,
right?
that's my favorite German word. I'm
Right.
so glad someone else said it. I feel like I'm on the podcast saying it the most. Sorry.
But you have that thing like, oh, thank God it ain't me.
Yeah.
Um, and people have those feelings, and it's not that it's not unnatural.
No.
But discussing them and working through them and all that kind of stuff. I mean, that's part of what this is. And I even think that, you think about the World War II uh, memorials that people go to and they go visit um,
Yeah.
places like Auschwitz or Bergen-Belsen or,
Yeah, yeah.
it's that number one, you want the remembrance of it. Like, oh my God, some people died here and all this happened. But you have that feeling of like, I want to go to these places where these tragedies happened
Hmm.
because it's left a mark on our psyche.
Hmm.
Whether that's healthy or not, I'm not sure. Like no,
Yeah.
the
Well,
remembrance
you're
is
right, 'cause I like collecting the dark side of history myself. I have like, here's for an example, I have blacks, one of the black shirts for the Italian World War II
Oh,
like Mussolini's black shirts, kind of like the SS for the
oh yeah, the
Italians.
fascists and
Yeah. And I have a bunch of like fascist coins and fascist and Nazi coins and shit. Yeah, I think it is important to remember how crazy a civilization can be. It can be like the fact that we have a civil civilization that can grow and create awesome things, but then can turn so primal in a flip of a hat or just a thought or someone like how powerful propaganda became. Like Joseph Goebbels, motherfucker.
yeah, I mean, right.
That guy was up in theaters, up in plays, up in movies, music, everything,
And
making
and
sure
so
everybody.
it's important to remember those things to see how it happens.
Yeah,
But also, and see if it remembers, but also we're fascinated with these things that leave a mark on our psyche. Um, it's returning to the scene of the crime. It
yeah, it is. Yeah, I like that. I like that.
and so we have that, and that you can do it in a way that's it's hard to say healthy, right? But that's part of what we do is you can do it in a way that helps you work through it and understand it
Hmm.
better. Like just like our talking about Jeffrey Dahmer for half an hour. Like, okay, but no, but to me, that left a mark on my psyche as a 14-year-old or whatever.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You wake up and that's what's on the news.
Yeah, and
There's a
you.
guy 15 minutes away
Yeah,
who was murdering men and saving their parts to eat and taking pictures and having sex with their dead bodies and their torsos and all those things. You're like, whoa.
yeah,
Um, okay. The reason I think he just wasn't a necrophiliac because he's trying to make the slaves. He was trying to
yeah.
make them. He was trying to
Make
like
him like a zombie type.
lobotomize them
Yes. Yeah.
into so he could have that stillness, but yet still have a living partner.
Right.
Um, but we're trying to work through those things that left a mark on our psyche. We're trying to do it in a healthy way. Um, but also if you can do it in a way you can understand a place better and you can understand other people better if you know sometimes their fears, if you know their beliefs, if you know the things that were important to them. Um, so I think that's a lot of what we're trying to do in tourism and things
You
is
think Jeffrey Dahmer could have found willingly people that okay, here's a great example. So there's a guy in my my German colleague introduced me to this story, and it took place in Germany where this
of
guy is
course as a German.
and this
I'm half German. I'm just making
oh
fun.
yeah. No, he tells a story about this cannibal guy that he wanted to find somebody to eat and have sex with and eat.
Oh yeah.
So he found a guy online that was his fantasy was to be have sex with his lover and be eaten by his lover. So yeah, they got down and they talked and they found out they were going to do this. And this guy set up video cameras all over the place. And yeah, started with that dude's dick and shot that shit off. And they were trying to cook it and shit. The guy was like almost passing out because there's so much blood loss. And I think
But
he took him in
yes,
took him
because
in
of
the
his private
tub.
parts.
He took him in the tub, slit his throat, and then he chopped up his body and then ate him like throughout the weeks. And like again, the filming aspect of it too. Like you're gonna like enjoy watching it multiple times, maybe masturbate to it, like really crazy fucked.
Okay, okay. Well, all right. It gets wild, right? It's too
That gets
much.
wild. That's wild.
But the thing is that um now the libertarian side says like, okay, well, this guy made his own choice. He
That's what I'm saying. That's why I think there's could be
was he
Dahmer could have
was
found somebody like that.
but no, I mean, I mean, Dahmer was he needed a
He
boyfriend.
didn't
He needed a boyfriend that would
do
be okay
anything.
with his fetish or whatever,
Yeah.
right? Maybe not necessarily, but
Something's
he
getting
needed
cut
he
off.
needed a human connection. Like his parents had, like they divorced. He
Yes.
had a difficult relationship with his father, a difficult relationship with his mother. So
Yeah.
he needed a human connection. Um, and he couldn't find it. And so then, he expresses it first. He finds a mannequin and then he creates mannequins out of humans.
Yeah.
That's actually, I think creating mannequins out of humans is the the plot of the movie Tourist Trap, Chuck Connors in
Yeah.
1980.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, there's
but
like
that,
wax museum or something.
yeah, but he's creating these mannequins out of humans. Um, so if he would have had a boyfriend or something that would have done that for him,
Hmm.
I don't know. I'm just being, or if he'd have gotten the treatment he needed before he killed 17 guys, because he killed the first guy,
I'm just
and
saying the
obviously he
internet
shouldn't
should have
have
been
prevented.
around.
Well, I mean, okay, so
That guy could have found
that
anybody.
guy in Germany though, like you have to think, like, okay, is that okay? Are we okay with that as a society, where you're
No,
like we're so
that's totally out of
like
no.
that? Oh, yes, you can agree to somebody chopping you up and eating you. Are we?
There's another
Should
case
we
too.
have stopped that? Because a drug addict might agree, like he would agree to OD. He's like, I want to die, right? But we
Yeah.
doesn't mean we should let those guys die.
No, no. But there's people, okay, there's another case where this guy was on Craigslist and he was trying to make money. He's like, I'll do almost anything within reason to make some money. And this guy's like, well, I'll pay you a shit ton of money if you come to my house, chop off my toes, and eat him in front of me. And so he goes over to this guy's house and he's about to do it. This guy chickens out. He goes like, "Oh, I'm a karate teacher, and all this other shit." But he, but this guy's ends up paying him anyways. But again, the fetish of people liking their limbs cut off.
No, it's a
That's
thing,
a
and
that's a thing
because
too.
I forget what it's called right now. I don't have access to my DSM manual where because but there is something where people think that their limbs,
And that's supposed to be there,
right? So it's the opposite of the phantom limb. When your arm's gone
and you feel the
and your
pain.
your
Yeah,
neurons still.
yeah.
I remember I did a whole paper about phantom limb phenomenon for my neuroscience class in college. And but that idea though, people are feeling it. And
Right.
a lot of times it's because, all right, because you have this area in your brain that normally would be like, let's say, associated with your arm, or associated, with your forearm, and your forearm's cut off. And so this area that's associated with your forearm no longer gets any kind of activity because it's not being sent anything. So everything around it in your brain, and I'm just pointing at pieces of my brain, I don't know where it is,
Sure.
but everything around that area to be associated with your forearm, the neurons, because that part in the middle that actually your forearm would activate is no longer getting activated. The places around it move in and take the space.
Right.
Okay, so let's say the place around it is your leg, next to it, and then your leg just gets those neurons get a little bit bigger because now they have more room because you have this space in the middle that's not getting any kind of activity. Okay, so that when the neuron on the side of it gets activated and then it bumps into your neuron that would activate from your forearm, all of a sudden you feel your forearm.
Mm.
So that the idea of phantom limb, they were explaining it because of the real estate inside your brain. When you have an unused piece of real estate, the
Mm.
places around it expand to fill the space. And as they expand to fill the space, they are bumping into the places in your head that would have activated that. So you feel pain because your leg space got a little bit bigger and bumped into your forearm space, which doesn't exist anymore.
Oh, isn't that weird?
Yeah, right.
Oh God.
So but that goes back to, okay, you are feeling something that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Now, that's coming from your own body.
Yeah.
Can you get that from something else? If we're talking about non-physical communication, can things activate those neurons that you have
Right.
that are not getting enough activity? The woman in white, the archetypes,
Oh,
the
okay.
things that we
Okay.
see,
Sure. Sure. Okay.
the things in your memory. I mean, Johnny L. Tenney, who is just a fantastic paranormal thinker and a really good guy. Always been great to me and my sister and my band family. Um, he, you know, he's got this idea where if you are, um, you know, think about you see a vision of your grandmother, you see a ghost of your grandmother wearing her favorite dress.
Mhm.
Now, does your grandmother, does her ghost need clothes? Does it, all that, does
Yeah,
Does a
right.
non-physical entity need clothes to go around? No, your grandmother, you can see your grandmother naked. What? But no, it's going to be, sh- she's activating your memory of her. And
Oh
your
yeah,
memory of her
yeah,
is her favorite dress, is her in her favorite dress. It's you seeing her in how she looked on your favorite Easter or your favorite Christmas or all these kind of things. And
huh,
so we're talking about those, those areas in our brain that could be activated. Like, can they
right.
be activated from non-physical communication? We know that something happens non-physically that we can't explain. It's not through the air, it's not in our eardrums, it's not visually, but somehow we receive that data. We can receive data, and it's been proven by science over and over again.
Yeah. It's kind of like what you said with music. It's like you hear an old song and like memories flush so
Right?
fast like that of like feelings and like you can remember a certain day or certain thing that happened and or just that song gets you in that mood. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that.
And so so when we talk about the paranormal, um, and I've got a theory,
Hmm.
if you'll indulge me for a second.
Yeah.
All right. So, um, uh, Josh Cutchin in his book, The Brimstone Deceit, talks about the scent that happens around so many paranormal experiences. Brimstone. They talk about it in, ancient texts. Well,
Hmm.
people smell sulfur, something burning, and
Right.
they associate that with demons. They associate that with the devil, hell, fire, and brimstone, the idea.
Hmm.
All right. Well, they also associate it with sightings of Bigfoot.
Hmm.
They also associate it with UFO sightings.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
Ghosts, I remember, somebody talking about like I felt this evil spirit and I smelled brimstone, or and they like a personal things that people have told me. And I mean, I've only smelled it after, I had two Miami omelets for breakfast or whatever. But other people associate that smell with some kind of paranormal experience. The smell of burning
Sulfur.
sulfur, brimstone. And it could be anything. It could be UFO, it could be Bigfoot, it could be a ghost, it could be a paranormal experience, it could be demonic. Okay. What if that smell puts us into our program mode?
Mm.
Okay. So, I mean, think about Terrence McKenna and all those, the psychedelic experiences Terrence McKenna would talk about. And people see the machine elves. They say there's somebody somebody doing something behind the scenes,
Yeah.
right?
I remember that shit. Yeah.
And well, what if when we see the people behind the scenes, it puts us into like when you hit Control Alt Delete on your Windows 95 machine,
Yeah.
or when you put your guitar amp into reset mode so you can play with the different sounds, your
Hmm.
phone, all those things. We have to program it. What if Brimstone activates our program mode, and then whatever does what it does? It's something. Maybe it's Lovecraft. I mean, think about Lovecraft, right? The way he wrote, people would see something paranormal and it would just it would drive them insane, it would blow their mind, right? So
Hmm.
instead of something seeing something outside of our reality and blowing our mind, we rationalize it in some way. Oh, I believe that there's aliens out there because that seems like a rational belief. You wouldn't anybody in a modern era, you wouldn't say the universe is so big.
Hmm.
If you don't believe in aliens, what do you mean? How can you have a universe this big with planets everywhere and there's not life anywhere? How could you not believe in aliens, right? So we all believe it's a rational belief to believe in life on other planets, not irrational.
No.
Now, whether they're little green men or whatever from Mars, that's a different story. But the idea that there's aliens is not an irrational thought.
No.
So if your explanation is I saw a UFO and I think it's an alien visiting from another planet, that's just what you believe. 500 years ago, I saw an angel, you know.
Yeah.
200 years ago, it could be a demon. If you're a cryptid, because cryptid people are a little different. There's
Yeah.
ghost people, there's UFO people, and there's cryptid people. Cryptid people's like, well, I saw Bigfoot walk across the thing. And Bigfoot's not an irrational, like, oh, I believe that there's an animal we haven't discovered yet. And it's, it's some kind of great ape. Um, Ghost people, we see something, we're like, well, yeah, I believe in life after death. I believe that's something that we don't just go away. I believe in souls. And so I saw a soul coming back to earth,
Mm,
but I smelled brimstone.
mm,
So everybody explains it in their own way. But to me, I'm like, okay, we have these paranormal experiences and we have, um, we explain it in our heads in the only way we can have it. And then we have this memory of, yeah, and we smelled sulfur while it happened too.
mm.
So I always think like, what if there's something working behind the scenes, or what if something paranormal is happening, um, but we just explain it in the way that we can rationalize our beliefs,
Sure.
and then what we're let so that's our memory and visual sense, but then the olfactory sense, because they say that we can only separate so many smells. Um, what if the olfactory sense, that's the one thing is, oh yeah, but it smelled like rotten eggs. So anyway, so that's my, going off of Josh's,
Yeah.
uh, the
That's
brimstone deceit. And I think about the machine elves and all that kind of stuff. Like, okay, well, what if something behind the scenes sometimes has to reprogram us?
yeah.
Sometimes we see something we shouldn't see, and instead of the Men in Black clicking,
Yeah.
right, we smell brimstone. Is that Pazuzu right there?
It's Pazuzu. See, I was gonna say like this guy too is I don't know if you ever seen that guy who named himself Pazuzu. I was
No,
Did you hear about this case? This
no.
guy, man, he was a Satanist, and he lived with his mother, and his mother let him just destroy the house with this. He has his friends come over there, piss and shit, and just do tons of drugs. He got high on meth and like sharpened all his teeth. And yeah, he goes by the name of Pazuzu, and he like had, I guess he was murdering people too in his basement. So he chopped off some dude's limbs, and he was just a human torso that he kept alive for a while, and
Oh
then he
God.
buried him in his backyard. It's just so crazy. But there's a
Isn't that the
documentary.
the mother from Home, that X-Files episode, Home, where they
Oh,
have the inbred family,
oh, yeah.
and then like they keep the mother in like a sliding desk, sliding drawer underneath the bed, and she comes out and she's just a torso. It
Yeah.
just, I mean, they said that one was so shocking that they only showed it once and they never played it in reruns. But I mean, I remember when it was on and I remember watching it. Um,
It's amazing that I always wondered and questioned like how the gargoyles look so evil, but then again they're protecting the church from spirits. So it's just like like
yeah.
what? It's a weird concept to me. It should be like angels, you think. But I
What?
don't know. It's just funny. It's these demons that we are
Yeah.
somewhat in the goods. I don't know. It's like where the gargoyles come from. The fuck?
Yeah, yeah. Gargoyles are there's gargoyles, and there's another word for hold on, I'm gonna look this up real quick.
Look it up. But no, it's very it's interesting that we use other demons to scare away other demons, if that's the case.
Right.
Yeah.
Um,
But who are these holy demons that are doing God's work?
there's there's the
The
gargoyles,
Zuzu.
um, and then is a carved formed grotesque with a spout designed to convey water from a roof and away from the
Yeah,
side of a
yeah.
building. And then there's another name for there's gargoyles, and this is why I can't remember because I haven't looked it up in so long. But gargoyles, and is grotesques the one that we think of when you think of the carved stone figures?
Hmm.
Okay, gargoyles versus grotesques. All right, let me find it here. And the difference is gargoyles are like the ones who are out, and grotesques are like in the walls.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay.
And so they have like creepy faces and things like that. Is the gargoyle? I think, but there's different names for each of them, you know.
Yeah.
And so that's what I think is interesting is that there's so little I understand about like medieval architecture. You know,
Yeah, and I feel like that's important, especially like the older parts of the Bible that they took out. I feel is the most important because they're just the most detailed description of angels coming down, living on earth, mating with women, creating giants.
right, the Nephilim and things
Yeah,
like
and
that.
then
Right.
like God, and then even like the Tower of Babel. That's such another uh, UFO story to me because they see this UFO in the clouds that everybody wants to build this tower to the God, and God has this petty human emotion of jealousy. He's like, my creation is too badass now and smart, and they're making it, trying to be like me. So like
Right.
overnight, I'm gonna use my magic. That everybody's gonna like, speak different languages and get mad at each other when they wake up trying to build that shit. And
Well,
everybody, it's so
and it's interesting, and theologians have talked about that kind of thing. Like, why is I grew up Catholic,
uh-huh.
and and I still go. Not that I'm a theologian, understand a lot about that, but this the idea of the Old Testament God being very much more human.
Yeah.
You think of the way jealous, angry.
Or why was angels raging war with God? Kind of like Prometheus. He was only trying to give humanity technology and fire, and God's like, nah, 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 nah. I'm gonna tie your ass to
Well,
a fucking rock and have a fucking eagle eat your liver every damn day.
yeah, but but with the Greek gods, that's really how they were. Like
They were,
Zeus was,
yeah,
I mean, they were angry, they were jealous, they were
they
mean,
were.
they would pick winners and losers.
Yes,
I
yeah,
mean, Zeus would come down, he sees a hot chick, he's like, oh boy,
yeah,
come down, turn himself into a goose or whatever, and then
yeah,
she,
right.
what a nice goose, and he'd be like, hey, baby, and then
My
they
dick is
make
a
like,
lightning bolt.
right, they make a demigod,
Yeah, yeah.
and but that those ancient religions,
Hmm.
it is interesting the anthropomorphizing. They took the things, God, Yahweh or whatever, Jehovah in the Old Testament is extraordinarily jealous and angry, and he's got his chosen people. But some of that is the you know he gives them something and then they screw it up. And it's that repeated thing for thousands of years. It's like, okay, we have a kingdom. All right, but this guy he screws up a war. They do something that they stray from the path and
Hmm.
then they need to be corrected. So a lot of that feels like it's an ancient way of showing people how to live or what happens when they go too far away from the teachings of, Moses and that kind of thing. Or
Right.
the prophets. And then when you get to the time of Jesus or whatever, then he's supposed to be like, okay, well, we figured it out now. And you guys been messing up for a long time. And I'm going to give you a shot,
Hmm.
but I'm going to have to die to do it. It's all those things. So, but a lot of those ancient religions, I mean, the Greeks, especially the Romans, especially the gods are very petty,
They're very
angry.
petty. Yeah.
But that's how, I mean,
Well,
even,
even ancient India too. They
yeah.
had the gods of raging war with each other. And I love how again, the cargo cult comes to me so heavily when I feel like these are physical flesh and blood beings that humans were interacting with, that the cargo cult is so prevalent in even ancient India because these 200 beings with blue skin, with all different traits and magic and shit. And then they say one day we're going to return. So when they left, everybody in India, all their temples are the shape of Vimana, of the shape of the flying vehicles that the gods needed to go to A to B. So it's just like,
Right, there's
blow me
something to
over.
that.
Yeah, exactly. And then like,
Well,
yeah,
I mean that's the Dogon tribe, right? Like there's a whole thing
the
about
Dogon with Africa
in
with
Africa, right, where they said like they were visited by some kind of dolphin-like creatures, right? Were they dolphin-like? But
Yeah,
they
aquatic.
they told them about Sirius B.
Yeah,
That was you couldn't see without a
couldn't see
telescope.
until like till like the early 70s or something like that.
Right. So
Or
they knew that there was a
yeah, I started back
they
there.
knew there was a binary star or whatever around Sirius, and like there was no way they could have seen that. Like, who told you that? Well, these aquatic creatures that came down here a couple thousand years ago. And you're
Yeah.
like, what?
And then these are my personal Kachina doll
Mm,
collection from the 1930s to the 1950s. And yeah, I love again the story with these guys. These things came from the Orion's belt, and they showed with the this blue star that the Hopi were following to set up the three mesas. And yeah, these things would interact with the humans and would teach them different traits, and then introduce them to the ant people after the two cataclysms that happened on Earth. Was the first one was fire. I don't know if it was an asteroid strike or a sun flare, and then the second one was the ice age. But
mm.
again, they're very robotic, astronaut-like, and the fact that they said they're going to return in the future, their idea of the cargo cult was building these dolls for their kids because one day their children will have to
Right.
interact with these things and they're going to be terrified when this dude comes like saying, "Hey, what up?" You know
Right.
what I'm
And that
saying?
guy comes out and says, "Take me to your dealer or whatever." Like, I'm out of
Yeah,
there.
yeah, with my sharp ass teeth. But no, it's just
Yeah.
I love how humans are just weird like that. The fact that we couldn't comprehend or didn't have the vocabulary to describe what we're seeing. That's why we see in the Bible flying chariots, chariots of
Hmm.
fire, and flying shields, or even with the natives flying turtles. You know,
Right. Well, that's the Stone Temple Pilots.
yeah.
That's um that idea that, somebody
I just feel like
there's
that's
something going
the
on.
smoking gun to me when something physical enough where it moves the people to do it. I feel like Wisconsin has our own modern day cargo cults with Dundee, Belleville, and Elmwood having yearly UFO parades by decorating their cars like flying saucers,
Sure.
dressing
Yeah.
up like aliens, and reminiscing UFO stories, just like these ancient tribes have been doing since dawn of time.
Right.
So it's like,
The
yeah.
the Belleville one particularly, or was it the Elmwood one? Which is the one where the police officer really thought was it Elmwood or was it
It
Belleville?
was Elmwood, George
With
Wheeler.
yeah,
They
no,
got
you're
they
right,
got hit with
George.
a blue beam and died 6 months later. And
Yeah,
his family,
he thought he really thought they were after him.
oh yeah, because he saw him twice.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Well,
it's Elmwood is the one where I was like, that's
I
the
love
one that
Elmwood because it has
scares
so
me.
many, has tons of plaques everywhere of UFO landings, sightings, and people's names. And there's that other guy, Hobbs Wilson. There's another guy
Hmm.
up in Elmwood that had his close encounter on his property. And yeah, he claims and sticks to his word. And everybody who knows somebody seen a UFO, you know what I'm saying? Like this, it's just nuts.
Well,
So,
northern Wisconsin, obviously the most famous sighting in northern Wisconsin is Joe Simonton.
oh, I love Joe Simonson.
And
That's my boy.
right, and what I love is that there's a book with Jacques Vallée talking to who's the swamp gas guy. Can't think of his name right now.
Ah, yeah, I know.
Mark O'Connell wrote the whole book on him. The Project Blue Book.
Yes. Jalen Hynek.
Yeah, right. So Jacques Vallée is having a conversation with J. Allen Hynek,
Yeah.
and they document it in one of their books. And they talk about Joe Simonson and the space pancakes.
Hmm.
And Jacques Vallée is talking about how the story is obviously crazy because this, so anybody who hasn't heard the story, this, and you guys have probably talked about it in the podcast before.
Oh, I love talking about it. Yeah,
But
it's amazing.
the idea is this saucer comes down Eagle River.
Yeah.
So this is up north, and Joe is living alone. And he's like a plumber, and he's always looking for ways to make ends meet and all this kind of stuff. But the saucer comes down. It's three people, and they don't speak to him, but they like speak through psychic. They talk to him through telepathy, and they want water. That's what they ask him for, and he describes them as swarthy, like little Italians, like short
Yes.
Italians. How he describes
5 feet
them.
tall, and wearing tight blue jumpsuits.
Right. Is
And
that
yeah,
this
he
guy?
was, and actually he was examining the jug when he was in his house to try to find some insignia or some numbers, and he couldn't find anything on it. But yeah, when he came back to give the guy the water, he noticed there was two other guys in there over a flat flameless grill cooking these pancakes, and they're really thin and little, like chips almost. And he's trying to again for the exchange of water, he gets four of these pancakes. But again, he's more dumbfounded again why this exchange even happening, and then the UFO takes off.
Right.
But then they find out too that he took them to scientists, and they found out that they were regular buckwheat pancakes, but didn't have
Right.
any trace of salt. That's the most impossible part about it, because everything organic on Earth has a trace of salt because of the oceans.
Right.
Even
Because,
us.
so he hasn't made pancakes in my house.
Yeah. Exactly. So doesn't mean that they couldn't have buckwheat or any other kind of plants, because we're always looking that shit up in some other place. But you know what? I love bringing my little conclusion or my little theory of
Yeah.
why this exchange happened, and maybe it has happened over history. Where do you think communion came from?
Oh,
Woo!
well, I mean,
It
the
sounds like
idea
a communion exchange to me.
that actually that's a really good that's a really good point. I hadn't thought about that before.
Yeah, because then that's more godlike, especially if it was like 300 years ago, something came down and gave him this exchange. Like, oh my God, that's God.
Well,
That's an angel came down.
right? But one of the things that Jacques Vallée goes into, because Jacques Vallée, his big thing is like he always said, fairy stories are UFOs, and
Yeah, yeah, they are.
but he's talking to this is so Joe Simonton happens in what 1961 or something.
Yep.
And this is a conversation from like 1974, and he's like, I believe him. He's like, I interviewed him, and I don't know that he actually saw aliens, but I don't think he's lying to us. And then
No.
and J. Allen Hynek's like, yeah, right. I don't I don't feel like he's lying about it. And then Jacques Vallée can connect that to the stories of fairies, and the whole thing is don't eat anything a fairy gives you,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Don't eat that pancake.
He took a bite of it. He
He
said,
did.
He
And he
said,
says-
it
It's like,
said it
this,
tastes
yeah,
like, yeah, it tastes like cardboard or something like that.
right. It's like, this pancake sucks. Yeah, they don't have salt. They don't have any maple syrup either.
Yeah, right.
Joe. But we talk about the things that people see.
Hmm.
300 years ago, they might have seen a fairy.
Hmm.
And in 1961, Joe Simonton saw aliens, because we're already 14 years into the UFO craze.
Yes.
It really is interesting to me that Roswell happens right after Kenneth Arnold has his first UFO sighting.
Oh, yeah.
So 2 weeks after.
Yeah.
So the term flying saucer is coined. And within 2 weeks, we have the Roswell crash in 1947.
Yeah.
Like when I'm like, oh no, all this stuff was a lot closer together than I thought. Like that initial 1947 UFO craze, like a lot of things happened at the same time. So Joe Simonton thinking that UFOs are real isn't weird.
No.
And so he has some kind of paranormal experience,
Hmm.
and he's like, well, I don't know why who to pick Italians.
Yeah.
He could have been like little green men or like they
Yeah,
were little monsters or something. He's like, nah, they look Sicilian.
Yeah.
And
Like me. I am Sicilian.
Hey, all right.
No, it's so.
I'm
no,
a little Southern European myself, I understand, but it makes me laugh. The
Yeah.
idea that he's like, okay, these aliens,
yeah.
they looked like Italians, and you're like, what?
But to me, that's even more believable. I believe that I believe there are more human ETs out there. The fact that we are in their likeness, in a sense,
Okay,
they
sure.
could be the ones seeding us, or the fact that we have, Billy Meyer talks about the blonde hair, blue-eyed ETs that come from
the Nordics or
the
whatever.
Nordics. Yeah, and there's other stories through it. It always changes. It seems like there's so many different things coming through. I don't know if there's a federation or there's got to be some sort of laws that they have to follow to not, just totally show themselves or just do whatever the fuck they want.
Right.
You know what I'm
Well,
saying? Like,
I mean,
you
well,
could
that's
take cows, you could take a few children, but I don't-
or what kind of deals they made, like,
yeah.
um, and when it comes to the alien stuff, I have no idea. I mean, I used to be a real believer. Um, and I used to think that the government was hiding something.
Right.
And now I just don't know. Like, I believe they've experienced things, but do they know more than we do? It had to get out by now,
Yeah.
right?
But then
Something,
again, would too many people trip out because look what we did for the pandemic, man. People went wigging.
yeah,
Can you
obviously,
imagine, like, it'd probably be all the hardcore religious folk jumping off rooftops. Like,
right?
damn, what the
You
fuck?
never know. Yeah, of course, they'd be wearing their N95s when they jump to their deaths.
No.
But
So yeah, no, you're right. I love this field so much because there's so many questions. It keeps going. Even if aliens get discovered tomorrow and it's well public, it's still a huge subject to be talked about because then we could still talk about were they in the past? Of course they were in the past. What can we match up
right.
that they were helping us do? And like, oh
Well,
man,
I think about it like, so we were discussing, we mentioned theology before, and um, bishops and stuff used to argue about how many angels could dance upon the head of a pin.
oh yeah, yeah,
Um, well, I mean, that's what we're talking about today.
yeah, true.
Where, we're like, Joe Simonson, it's an interesting story. And now
It
everything's
is.
theoretical.
Yes.
Um, you have the true crime stuff, and then we're theorizing, well, how could we stop the next guy, or what was done, and all that. The unknowns and the mysteries
Yes.
make it fun. And to
Yes.
me,
Thank you.
what makes it extra
Yes.
fun, because that's why, think about our tours and what I do for a living, is that I want I want to get everything as factual as possible, number one. Number two, I want to explore all the theories. I want to get the people's real experiences and tell them about it. And I don't want to make stuff up. And the reason I want to make stuff up is because that's not as much fun.
Hmm.
So you can argue all day if Superman or Batman are going to win a fight, or what
Yeah. Right.
happens when Doctor Who lands in the Starship Enterprise. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But it's more fun to talk about people's beliefs and our beliefs and the theories and put them together in a
Yes.
you do it in a respectful way, and you try, because people believe a lot of things and you won't be
And I
dismissive.
love hearing other people's theories. Get open. I
Right.
love being open-minded to enough to be like listening to your theories and being open-minded and even like have it stuck in behind my head, knowing that if I see a ghost or whatever the hell happens, I was like, oh, Mikey did say that would happen.
Right. Oh, all of a sudden,
Yeah, right.
but those looking for those ideas is
Hmm.
really that's part of what makes the discussions fun. That's part of what makes the tours fun. That part of what we do enjoyable. And um, to me, when I go on a tour or when I do something and you hear a story and they're obviously embellishing, or they're going too far into it, or too blood and guts, or too, they're like, okay. And so then a poltergeist showed up, and I remember I was on a tour of the Dells once.
Then a Native American came through the door
Right,
to
right.
stop
And
him with his
he had a
spirit
he had
sack on his
he had a,
neck.
he had a tomahawk. You're like,
Yeah.
shut up. Um, I remember one time I'm in this bus tour in the Dells, and we did a tour in the Dells for a little while, but it's hard to hire up there. Um, but we'll get back there. We do private tours up there that have been really successful, but I did a bus tour in the Dells one time. I don't know, 15 years ago, a long time ago.
Okay.
And then the guide is telling some stories, and then every once in a while he dips into like, well, this is Native American burial ground, so haunted. Like, okay, well, how about
Yeah.
a story, or what did
Yeah. What makes it
Okay,
haunted?
they
Yeah.
were here. Okay, cool. What did they believe about this place? Haunted. Okay,
Haunted.
just like,
There's a snake in my boot.
all right, pal. Um, but then we get to a point, and this woman raises her hand, and she goes, okay. She wants to tell about a story that happened to her. And there's 15 people on this like minibus, right?
Hmm.
And it's like a school bus, the short bus or whatever, and there's hardly anybody there. But it's Sunday night, I don't know, and there's like 15 people, and this woman wants to tell her story about something happened to her.
Sure.
And she goes in about something happening in her house, and the guide just stops and goes, "Okay, that's a poltergeist, and that's a demon in your house, and you have
Whoa.
to." And I'm sitting there, and I had to
You
tell you,
didn't finish your story.
I'm like, "Hey, dude, you don't know shit." And I don't mean vulgar or whatever, but I was like, "You don't know shit." And I tell him, I'm like, "Hey, that guy doesn't even know what a poltergeist means. So just, it's okay. There's not a demon in your house,
Yeah.
right? You may be experiencing some things. So you need to create the safe space where people can tell their stories.
Sure.
You need to create a space where people feel like, okay, I can talk freely and people aren't going to judge me.
Right.
Um, and I can express myself. And then sometimes they're scared. Sometimes they're there to learn things. Sometimes, sometimes they're there because they want to find other people who may have had other experiences happen to them.
Yep.
And just in that moment, I wanted to punch that guy because I'm like, what are you doing? Why would you scare this woman to death? For what reason? How does this, was she going to tip him extra if he says there's a demon at your house? Like, we already paid our ticket. You could just be like,
Yeah.
oh, that's a crazy story.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Why would you
It,
let the woman talk, instead of
this
like
is just
just
like, this is just like a story that happened here. And you know what? They're living there and it's fine. And so you don't have to worry about it. Instead, he says there's a demon living in her house. And I'm like, I got, I didn't even start a tour company at that point. And I'm just like, whatever I do in the future, it has to be where we
not like
don't
that guy.
try to terrify the people who come on the tours so that they feel scared when they
Yeah.
go home.
Sure.
Um, if they have paranormal experiences at home, you'd like them to feel like I understand this a little better.
Yeah.
I'm more equipped now than I was when I came. Um, but I think about that guy all the time because what was he thinking?
Yeah. What the fuck?
Right. I'm like, what are you doing? Shut up. And and I'm just like, hey, it's gonna be all
And
right.
how are you gonna give that diagnosis within 5 minutes of her talking, or less than that?
Right. Oh, just 30 seconds. Oh,
Yeah.
what you have in your home is a demon. What? Shut your mouth. Um, trying to like what was he trying to accomplish there? And so we have to think about those things when we deal with these kinds of activities and we talk to people. And that's what I said. We deal with empathy. You deal with compassion. Um, how many calls we get from people who have recently died, or
Mm,
their relatives have really, like, oh, I just want to hear about ghosts for a little bit because I want to believe that something happens after we die. Okay, well, we can tell you about some ghost stories. I don't know what happens. I can't give you any answers, but I can tell you what people have experienced. And if
sure.
that gives you some comfort, that's really good.
Yeah.
People call we have a 1-800 number.
Do you really?
Um, well, yeah, 1-833 Ghost 13. Right. So
Cool.
that's our customer service line. Well, that's usually for people like, hey, I'm trying to find the entrance I'm trying to find the meeting point for the tour. I like the GPS isn't working. Is it by over here? So we're
Sure.
usually
Sure.
there helping people book tours and get to the location. But I mean, several times a day, it'll be like, can I tell my ghost story here?
Oh, that's awesome.
And you're like, well, sure. But we do we'd be patient and things like that. But like sometimes you can be like, hey, we have to deal with customers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but eventually, I want to make it so that people can call in and tell their ghost story, and then we can help them or like analyze it, or maybe put on a podcast and go through it and say like, okay, this is what we think happened, or maybe interview them or something.
For sure.
Um, but it becomes like the ghost line where people just call like, can I tell you my paranormal experience? Like, sure, but keep it to a couple minutes because we got to, we have a bus coming in 15 minutes. I got to make sure everybody's still on location.
Mm,
Um, but you have to. People are scared
yeah.
or they're looking for something, and that's why you don't want to take advantage of them. That's why you don't want to exploit them, but you want to be like, hey, this is what other people have experienced, and maybe that means there's life after death. And if that makes you feel good, well, I'm glad we could help you out for a few minutes.
Yeah.
That
That's
kind of thing.
beautiful. That's beautiful. Well, hey man, I think we're gonna wrap it up from here because
Yeah.
we're up to 2 hours, man. That was
I
dope,
guess, yeah, we've
dude.
been talking for a long time.
No, that was great, dude. Dude, seriously, you are an amazing storyteller, and you have
Oh,
so much
thank you, Dustin.
information, dude. It's just like, I love how it went everywhere. That was that's my favorite. I love when there's just so much subjects and stories, dude. That was on point. I'm so excited to edit this one and to get it up and going. But
Perfect.
yeah, can you tell my audience where they could find your stuff? And if you want to repeat
Absolutely.
your phone number, you can do that again.
Sounds good. You can find our tours in cities across the United States. We got 10 different areas. We do them from Wisconsin, Minnesota, Illinois, New Orleans, Hawaii, Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, Maine. Um,
Wow.
no, I think I got most of them. Anyway, but yeah, we
Shit.
got 10 different places. We do haunted history tours, and it is a lot of fun. You can
Yeah.
find us at americanghostwalks.com, and you can give us a call if you have any questions at 1-833-GHOST-13.
Awesome. That's so dope. Well, thank you again, Mikey. And yeah, can you stick with me for 2 more minutes?
Yeah, sounds good.